I'm coming. I am probably live. Hold the phone. Hold the phone. Hi, everyone. Hello. Welcome to the Quest Show. I am Lana Quest, and I am here this week. I am so excited. Please excuse me. I will be looking at my phone at the same time that I will be doing the show because that's what happens when you don't have a co-host. You kind of have to navigate different things alone. So that is what I'm going to do now. Give me 1 second to organize and at the same time that see it's loud too. Okay, so yes, welcome to the Quest Show. I have not been on for many a week. I am so sorry about that. May and June tends to be very busy. It's the end of the school year. Kids like recitals, shows, athletic awards, graduations. Like there's just a lot going on. But I wanted to take some time out. I'm glad that I did because obviously there's some big news that just happened. But first, we're gonna get through all of these things and then we'll get to the big news. But before we start, if you are there, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. I'd appreciate it. Hello, Michelle. I am a loner tonight, so gonna try to navigate and figure it out. You know how I go off the rails when I'm alone, so sorry ahead of time. I'm going to get to the big news in a second, but I'm going to talk about the other news before we get to the big news. So, actually, I think this happened today, just real quick. I just wanted to touch on this. The Supreme Court rejected the congressional map from Alabama because you know how Alabama's out here gerrymandering the whole state where Black people aren't even having access to voting for their representatives. That was rejected today by the Supreme Court, which is a big, big surprise. And I guess a big win for Alabama. Apparently, Alabama has grown like 80,000 people. And for the 80,000 people, they only have a couple of districts because they pack them into districts so that they're not spread out through the state, so that Democratic voices, because they figure if they're Black people, they're Democrats, so their voices are not heard, and then they end up getting no representation. So it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, hey, your maps are racist, and you have to redraw these maps. I guess it's something to celebrate because that's good for Alabama, but what's the catch? So what's the catch? Because the Supreme Court is majority conservative. So Kavanaugh and Roberts voted with, the liberal Supreme Court justices. What's the catch there, right? Is it because, Clarence Thomas has just been, his stuff is dead. There's just been hemorrhaging respect, like no one respects the Supreme Court. You got Clarence Thomas taking gifts from Crow, traveling on these luxury vacations. His mom's living in the house that Crow owns because Crow bought it from her for rent free. Clarence Thomas's nephew is going to school for free. Like, is that why they're like, you know what? Let's just give the liberals a win because in a little while, we're going to be voting on affirmative action. We're going to be voting on the school loan forgiveness, and we're going to dissent on those. So that's kind of what I think. It's like, so we can't really get too happy about this. I mean, it is a win, but I think it's only going to go so far. Like, I think they just gave us that because everyone hates the Supreme Court, and I feel like they just kind of did it because they felt like they had to do it. Because, the affirmative action is going to be heard or has been heard, or they're still arguing. I don't know. They haven't decided on that yet. And you already know what they're going to decide on the school loan forgiveness. So I don't know, we'll take this win from Alabama, take your racist maps and redraw them, please. So that is good news. What else happened this week? Oh, there's some people who threw their hats into the presidential race for 2024. Let's go down the list, shall we? So, of course, we know Ron DeSantis did because that is his all-time wish and goal. And Casey DeSantis just wants to be in the White House so bad so she can redecorate, just like Melania. She's so anxious to get there. So, of course, he announced, because I haven't been here, so that's why I'm kind of talking about news. Ron DeSantis, I think, announced 2 weeks ago. Or was it last week? I can't remember. These weeks are mashing in, but Ron DeSantis has announced, he announced on Twitter. Who does that? Like, he's so different, right? Like, do you really think that you're going to do all of this campaigning without having to answer the tough questions or like talk to people or meet people? Like, he doesn't want to talk to anyone. He doesn't want to really shake any hands. Like, he definitely doesn't want questions because if you ask him something, he gets very defensive. So he hid on Twitter and figured he'd make his big announcement on it's called Spaces. If you're not on Twitter, it's somewhere where you just hear the audio. Like, so everyone on Twitter or anyone on Twitter can join. It's called Spaces. And again, you're just joining so that you can be able to hear the audio of him talking to Elon. I don't know, like, what is that? It's got to be a business deal somewhere down the line. The Elon's not doing it for nothing, and DeSantis isn't doing it for nothing. Like, there's definitely a deal with them both. But I guess no one could hear DeSantis, and obviously it was just a bust. So now he's just back to chasing the woke. That's what he's doing. I don't even know if he's governing Florida at this point. Like, who's the governor of Florida? Who knows? Because DeSantis is out here chasing the woke. Like, where's woke? That's DeSantis. You'll find him with like a hammer and something, like trying to get the woke. Like, he's literally in a one-man battle to defeat the leftists, eradicate the world of the leftists, and to defeat woke, which he doesn't even know what woke means. Does anyone know what woke means out there? Like, do we really know? Let me educate you. So woke, they think the first mention of the word woke was from the 1930s. And it was from Leadbelly, a blues artist. I think it was blues. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was blues. Mentioned it because in 1931, the Scottsboro boys, there were 9 of them, 9 Black boys. They were accused of raping 2 white women. They were arrested, and you know what they do to Black people in the 30s. It's like, you don't need any evidence. It's like, if the woman was like, oh, those Black kids did it, then those Black kids did it. So they arrested these 9 boys, and they were going to execute them. And the NAACP and a whole bunch of organizations came out, represented them, filed appeal after appeal so that they could save the lives of these 9 innocent boys. They finally got off. So many years later, they never recovered from the ordeal because, again, they were young when it happened. And I mean, I'm making it seem like it was fast, but it was years of them sitting in jail thinking that they were going to be executed. So that definitely a lot of trauma with that. But Leadbelly, the blues artist, he's a popular blues artist, wrote a song about the Scottsboro boys in the 30s. And at the end of the song, he said, stay woke, meaning when you're traveling through Alabama, for you to stay woke. So that's where it originated from. And then it's, Black people's call to stay woke around issues of racism. And it's, it's been co-opted and it's taken on a bigger form, which is fine. So it's just like, stay woke to social justices or injustices, like, just have some compassion. That's really what it means. Have compassion. So that's what that is. So when Black people say that, if you're against woke, you're anti-Black, that is why we say that, because it did originate from the Black community. I can barely see Michelle. I'm sorry. The mess of it all. The boys are going to be divided for sure. Yeah. So Ron DeSantis, Tim Scott. Yes, no racism. Tim Scott. He popped himself into the race too. He gave himself a rally where I guess he was trying to be hip and cool when he came out to some type of music and he made some type of roar, laugh, yell. I don't know. Tim Scott thinks there's no racism, so he's just Tim Scott. He's just there. Who else? Oh, Mike Pence. Was that today that he put himself in the race, or was it yesterday? Mike Pence. And it's interesting. They're all coming into the race. Not all of them, but like Mike Pence is. Ron DeSantis is still a little afraid to hit at Donald Trump, but Mike Pence came out, swinging in a Pensy kind of way. Maybe he wasn't like doing punches. Maybe he was just like, he just came out and kind of swatted at Trump a little bit. Like, he endangered my whole family. He's unfed. Pence didn't say this before, but we're saying this now. Like, really, Pence? Like, they had a noose and you didn't even want to talk to the J6 committee. But now all of a sudden you're like, oh, he endangered my family. Like, man, if you don't sit down, then you have Chris Christie. I like to hear Chris Christie. I don't like Chris Christie, but I do enjoy hearing him talk about Donald Trump low key. Again, I don't like him because he's another one. He's coming out saying, how unfit Donald Trump is and how selfish Donald Trump is. And Donald Trump only thinks about himself. No kidding, Chris Christie. That was how he was when you were there with him, and you still were there with him through the racism, through the bigotry, through him being unfit, because he was never fit. When was he fit? Never fit. And you didn't say anything then. And now here you are doing this is all a political game. Like, it's a political circus, and it's so disgusting. And this is the part of politics that you call the dirty part of politics. It's like the part where people kind of want to not be involved, right? Because it's icky, because that they're just lying. Because at the end of the day, all of them have taken a pledge to vote for whoever the nominee is. So each one of them saying that Trump endangered them, saying that Trump is unfit, saying that Trump is selfish, they all said what? Well, if he's the nominee, I'm going to vote for him. Excuse me? I can't imagine. I would just not vote. I cannot imagine if Biden did all of that stuff, and I'm like, I don't care. I don't want Republicans to be in office. I'm not. Like, my conscience would not allow me to do that, but it's clear that Republicans have no conscience. So I don't even know why. Oh, that's right. Trump did give Chris Christie COVID, and then he ended up being in the hospital. That's right. Oh my God. What's wrong with these people? Oh, wait. So Cornel West, he threw his hat into the race. Why? Like, why? Does anyone even know who Cornel West is? Like, he's literally a professor, an educator, a philosopher. He's not a politician. Not that you have to be a politician, but why are you doing that, Cornel West? Like, why are you doing that? I kind of think that Cornel West is still upset that Obama didn't invite him to the White House because he was a little upset about that. Cornell was pissed off, and he always had something bad to say about Obama because, Cornell West is a little militant, and it's like Obama just wasn't Black enough for him. Like, he just didn't talk the talk. He didn't do enough for the Black people, which is ridiculous because the president is president for all of the people, right? And the way government works is that, when you need things done in the state that you are in, you need certain benefits, you need affordable housing, all of those things. That is local government. That's who your governor is, who you're voting for. That's your legislation. That's your mayor, your city council, your school committee. Like, those are the things that when you want those more personal, tailored things, those are those things. Like, the president in Obama, the things that he did do was the health care, right? The making it easier for Black and brown people to open up businesses, get loans. He saved a lot of homes when he came into office because a lot of people, it was during the recession because Bush we were spiraling, and Obama had it so that people's homes started to get saved because people were losing their homes. They were going into foreclosures because banks were giving out these bad loans and people's credit was so bad that you couldn't refinance. So he's like, okay, let's do modifications. Like, so there's just a number of police reform, just a number of things that he did on a federal level, that helped us. So Cornel West, like, it just, and it's funny because don't even get mad at him because it's not like he's going to pick votes away from Biden. Because if somebody votes for Cornel West instead of Joe Biden, they probably really don't vote anyway. Like, they are probably not voters. They don't understand politics, and it's probably all of 10 people. Like, it's not going to matter anyway. I like Mr. West, but at what he's doing now, which is a professor at history, he should stay. Yeah, he should stay in his lane because to me, you're wasting money, right? Don't you have to raise this money to run? Like, you're not going to win. What's the purpose? And he's actually saying things like he's going to end poverty. He's going to end mass incarceration. He's going to end the wars. He's going to guarantee housing. Like, you kind of can't, right? Like, it depends a lot. Guess what? Biden would love to do all of those things if he had the House of Representatives, right? If he had Congress, if we were the majority in the Senate and in the House of Representatives, there's a lot that could be done. But if we really think about it, Biden has done a ton of stuff, even without the House of Representatives. Like, the list is enormous of what Biden has accomplished in so short of time. I mean, child poverty is down. He got an infrastructure bill. That's jobs. There's jobs even into the Black community. You're talking about fixing these bridges, fixing these roads. It's the CHIPS Act. The CHIPS Act means that we're going to bring building these chips not overseas but here in America. So there are companies that are going to go to the government to apply for this money so that they can start making these chip acts. And guess what? In order to get that money from the government for you to start open up a facility to make these chips for these computers, you have to give women maternity leave. Like, you have to give women maternity leave that they need. You have to provide daycare for if they have children. Like, you have to do that as a company in order for you to get this federal money. So we had some bipartisan gun reform. It's very little, but it got done. You got the, what is it? The PACT Act for the veterans. Like, the list just goes on. Judges galore, just diverse judges. Like, so you can't ever say that Biden hasn't done anything. That is why Republicans, they can't attack his record, so they attack his age. Oh, Biden fell down. Oh my God. Like, and he also got back up, right? Like, he didn't fall down and just never got back up. He kind of got back up. And then they go, well, he needed help. Like, isn't that what people, if they're standing there, if someone falls, you help them get up? Like, I'm just really confused about this. Like, do they forget Trump's age or not? Like, I'm just very confused. But yeah, so Biden's out here doing it. They have nothing on him. Let's move. Let's just keep moving on because I want to get to Trump last. So what time is it? Oh, I'm doing good to be by myself. Let's talk about AJ Owens for a minute there. And I hate talking about these things because they happen so often, but this stand your ground law is just horrific. Michelle, I know he tripped not even. And I know, Michelle, that you like me. Let's start there. As moms, and I'm talking to Michelle because she's in the chat. As moms, I'm pretty sure that your kids, just like my kids, and me with my mom. I remember being a kid with my mom and being outside playing, and a neighbor is just yelling at us, "Stop, get off of my grass," or "Stop picking my flowers," or whatever, and just really get upset. And I actually remember a time where this man was really upset with us for doing something on his yard. I don't know, maybe our ball kept going, and I think he threw the ball in the street or something. And then my mom was like, "Who did it?" And we're like, I think we called him like Kojak or something like that. Like, I think that was our name for him because it was bald. I don't know. He looked scary. And who did it? Who did it? Kojak did it, Ma. And just for the whole street, she took us, all the kids, went right back to his house and said, "What did you do to these kids? What did you say?" Please, like, just for clarity's sake, right? Because she also knows how kids exaggerate. So it's like, what happened here, right? But you could do that. I've done that. I've done that with our neighbor. Your kid threw trash across the fence, right? Like, she'd come to my house, "One of your kids threw this trash, and I know it's unlike your kids." Like, am I going to get mad at her and like feel threatened and shoot her through the door? Like, that's ridiculous. This is things that we do as neighbors. So apparently, AJ Owens, a mother of 4 in Florida, her children were outside playing in a complex type apartment situation. So it wasn't even like a cul-de-sac. It wasn't like this neighborhood and houses. It's a complex where kids just play. No one owns anything. This woman was apparently upset with her children for playing in grass that was too close to her house or something like that. From what we understand, she was upset with a lot of the kids who played outside. She just seemed like an old, miserable, and she wasn't even that old because I believe she was 58, but she seems like an old, miserable woman who just didn't like the kids. She would call them names. The Black kids, she would call them N-words. She would call them animals, just all kinds of things. And this particular day, and apparently she's been going back and forth with AJ Owens, because that's just what happens when you have kids and you have disputes with neighbors. That's not something that's not normal. So what is not normal is that her reaction to the kids. So apparently the kids left the area and left their iPad, and the woman took the iPad inside of her house. The kid comes back to get it. I don't know. She throws a skate at the kid that hits the kid on the foot or something like that. The kid goes back and tells his mom. Of course you go back and tell your mom. What does your mom do? She goes to the house and figure out, what the hell are you doing? What's going on? Did you throw something at my kid? So she's knocking on the door. She may have been banging on the door. Who cares? Because none of that matters. Whether she knocked, banged, knocked 3 times, it doesn't matter. Because if you felt like it was a problem or afraid, call the cops, which is also another bad thing. But call the cops. Just call the cops. No, the woman did not do that. She shot AJ Owens through a locked door in front of her 2 children. Unbelievable, because that could have been any mother. And you shot her in front of her kids. You could have shot the kids. You shot a woman dead through a door and then gonna claim self-defense? Like, stand your ground law? And that's the problem with stand your ground law, because all it does is give ignorant racists like a reason, because they always are going to feel threatened. They're always going to act like Black people are threatening. Like, that's the status quo. That is the default, because that is why Trayvon Martin, what did they say about him? He's big, he's hulking, he's huge. They even like faked and photoshopped pictures that made him look like he was bigger than Zimmerman, because he's Black. So he had to be a thug. He had to be aggressive. You know, they always do that. They did that to Yarl, who was just shot just for ringing the doorbell to get his siblings. I'm just ringing the doorbell. The man who called the police on a little girl who was spraying the lantern, the bugs, to keep them from killing the trees. He called the police. And when he called the police, his description of her was she was this grown woman and big and whatever. It's like they always want to depict Black people as aggressive, as mean, as the attackers. And this is not a new thing. This has always been the case. It's been the case since the beginning of time. It's been the case since they kidnapped us from Africa and brought us over here. It's like we had to be in chains because we were animals. We had to be controlled because we didn't know how to control ourselves. We didn't have any impulse control. So we needed to be dealt with. We needed bounty hunters. We needed our feet cut off so we wouldn't run. So these are the old stereotypes that are in the subconscious of these people. And it doesn't help when you have a steady diet of Newsmax or Breitbart or Fox News that's telling you the same thing, that's constantly depicting Black people as animals. And this will not stop. It will not end until that stops. It's some hard machine to fight. I mean, it's just, and you see it. I see it like when I'm on Twitter, if I write, it's like some key things. If you write about if DeSantis, Trump, Trayvon, Zimmerman, like key words, they just come pouncing, right? If you put mass shootings, they'll be like, what about this Black person shot this one? What about this Black on Black crime? Like, it's crazy. And they don't, like, they're not lying for what they know. Like, this is just all they know. You know what I mean? Like, that is their steady diet. They don't think of anything else. And I can understand how, if you're always seeing Black people depicted like that, if you're always seeing Black people, they're showing a steady stream of Black people rioting. These are BLM. Not, right? They don't even know what year the video is that they don't even know what they're watching, but they're getting the steady stream of it. And that's what they believe. And this is what's going to constantly in those stand your ground states. It is so scary because they're always going to say, I feared for my life because that was a Black woman. Because if that was a blonde, if that was a white woman with her little white kids, That wouldn't have happened ever. It's just that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Like, how often do we really hear about someone white getting caught up being the victim of a stand your ground law? Like, how often does that happen? And if it does happen, it was probably for real. They're probably doing something crazy because it just doesn't happen. And here's the white privilege that comes. So after it happens, this woman is shot. She's taken to the hospital. She dies at the hospital. The white woman is taken into custody. She's talked to for 4 hours and then she's released. And that happened on, I believe, Friday. Saturday, she's still released. Sunday, she's still released. I don't think that she was arrested until maybe Tuesday or yesterday. I think it was like 4 days they said it took them to release her. Their excuse is that, well, when someone is claiming stand your ground law, we have to investigate everything. Well, we did see on TV that they hadn't even talked to the people in the neighborhood. They only talked to her. So what is that investigation? So right then and there, that tells you that that's the privilege, right? They didn't want to talk to anyone else. It's the same with Ahmaud Arbery, right? Like, that happened and they tried to just sweep it under the rug. And like, thank God for activists. Thank God for people just speaking out, because imagine how many times that this has happened before and we just didn't know about it. That's the sad part. Just all of the lives that have been lost over the years that we couldn't even say their names. We couldn't even talk about because we don't know who they are. This isn't the first, maybe the second. Stand your ground law has been in effect for a long time. So they've just been killing Blacks at will, willy-nilly. And it's just been hidden. But see, now we have Ring cameras everywhere. People are taking pictures. People are speaking out. Because, you know, we talk about racism and America's a racist country and all of that, but it's not the majority of people. It's not. It feels like it because racists tend to have some loud mouths. But it's not the majority of Americans. And I do realize that. So that happened. That was extremely sad. So let's go to the thing. Gosh, and I wanted to start back with Jack Smith because this week has just been a Jack. We have not heard Jack Smith's name so much until this week. Like, it's just been like Jack has just been a part of the family. It's like Jack in the morning, Jack in the box. It's like Jack was just popping up everywhere. And we were loving it because what we started to hear, what is this, Thursday? So what we started to hear, I think it was early in early in this week or late last week, that Trump's lawyers had met with the prosecution team and also with Jack Smith. And I believe that meeting was in DC. And that really made everyone think like, you know what? Jack Smith must be at the end of this investigation, because why else would Trump's attorneys be talking to the prosecution at this point, trying to plead their case or trying to get them to drop some of the charges, because they were saying that Trump probably got a letter saying that he was the target of this documents investigation. Right. So that happened. Yes, I am going backwards. So that did happen. And then we were like, oh my God, it's got to be coming. Like, that's all the news could talk about. Like, Jack is coming. And then all of a sudden it got quiet indeed. Well, we actually got a picture, a video of Jack coming with his Subway sandwich going back into the court. That was kind of cool. But all of a sudden, DC got quiet. And then Florida started, it started getting busy in the Miami court. But let me back up a little. And what we also found out is that Meadows had testified. So, and Meadows has been exposed too, right? Because it's been found out that Meadows was moving boxes himself as well on Trump's command, and the lawyers were saying you shouldn't do that, but he did it anyway. So that put a lot of exposure to Meadows. So if Meadows was talking to the prosecution, everyone believes that Meadows has made himself an immunity deal, because of course he made an immunity deal, because they're like, yo, you want to go down or you want to just go on and tell on everybody? So I'm pretty sure that he chose to tell on everyone. The thing about Meadows is, remember, Meadows was also the one that was talking to the lawmakers. He had all those text messages and emails to them. So a lot of them could get caught up in this web as well. So let's leave DC, because DC got really quiet this week. And all of a sudden we saw like Florida was like all aflutter. Like witnesses were going in and talking to the grand jury in Florida, and everyone's like, oh my God, what is going on in Florida? So now it's like Florida, DC, like what's going on? So then we learn, like, yeah, it makes sense, because I guess there's a case pending about what court to file a case in, because you don't want the government to file a case in the wrong jurisdiction, because if they do, it could get thrown out. So I guess the Supreme Court is hearing a case about whether if the government files the case in the wrong jurisdiction, does that case get thrown out forever and ever? Sorry. That is what's going on in the Supreme Court. It hasn't been decided on yet. So with that being said, they're saying that the prosecution is like, hold, we have to do this right. So we need to file this in the jurisdiction of where the crime happened. So they're probably going to, don't be surprised if Trump gets indicted in DC as well, because in Florida is where he held the documents hostage, right? So that's a crime, because they asked him for the documents back and he held those documents there. So that's the crime in Florida. But there was a crime he committed in DC because he actually took the boxes from DC. So that is a crime in itself. So he may be indicted in 2 places. But talking about indictments, boom. Trump is indicted. So Trump is twice impeached, liable for sexual assault, twice indicted thus far, because he stayed indicted by Bragg and he's federally indicted by Jack Smith. He ain't having a good. This has been a very, very, very bad spring for Trump. Like, it's been snowballing ever since Bragg tipped it off, and then it's just been going downhill since then. But you know what? I still want that man to be the Republican nominee. I don't care how many indictments he has. He has got to be our nominee. I'm sorry. He's got to be the Republican nominee, because yes, we got this. Who we don't want to be the Republican nominee is Ron DeSantis, or DeSantis, or DeSantis, or whatever day it is. He changes the pronunciation of his last name daily. So I'm not sure if he's DeSantis or DeSantis today, but we actually do want Ron DeSantis, Trump as the nominee. We do not want Ron DeSantis. So I'm happy that there's so many people jumping into the race, because that just kind of makes Trump's chances more, because Trump he's never going to drop out. That will never happen. That's just not how Donald Trump rolls. He doesn't care if he had 10 indictments, because he is the type of person that will try to use anything and everything to get him out of whatever trouble that he is in. So he needs to become president, and he is not going to, that's just one avenue that could help him. So he's not going to hang up that avenue, because he would feel like, oh, well, you know what, if I became president, then I'm not going to go to jail. So he's definitely he's not dropping out of the race. That's just impossible. And he needs to continue to fundraise. Like, why would he jump out of a race when he needs to be fundraising to pay for these attorneys? Because guess what? He's going to need a whole nother group of attorneys now. He's going to need him some trial lawyers. He can't keep using these guys that he has, because that's not going to work out for him. So he's definitely going to need some more money. And that is it. We are ending on a good note. Like, I am just, wow. Finally, we've been waiting for Trump to be indicted. And this isn't even going to be the last one now, is it? Because there's still J6. I really don't think Jack Smith is going to, he's not done. He's not done. There's a lot more coming. And I can't imagine, especially with J6, because there's a lot of lawmakers that were involved with that. And I can't imagine Jack Smith like, yeah, okay, we're done. He's not done. That one is just really large and it's sprawling, and there's so many people that are involved. I mean, you got to think, if Meadows got immunity, Meadows has got to be talking about the documents, and he's got to be talking about J6. Like, so he's just spilling the beans. I mean, here's the thing. They were in that White House burning documents. Like, every other day, Hutchinson testified that they were just burning after every meeting. They were just like burning documents. This is the guy that they're saying that they would vote for again. Yeah, never. We can never allow that to happen. Hey, Artie, I'm about to close out. Arrived late, was basking in the indictment news. Hey, Michelle. Yes, we were just talking about that. Trump and his indictment, like, it's just about time, and we just knew it, and we were just excited about it. So, and you know what? Oh my God. So we're like, yeah, he got indicted in Florida. He may get indicted in DC because he stole the documents from DC. Somebody's getting indicted in DC. They didn't just have a grand jury for nothing. So it could be Mark Meadows, because Mark Meadows took some boxes, but someone's getting indicted in DC. But there's still Bonnie. There is still Georgia. I forgot about that. That is coming in August. Trump, I don't know. I don't even know how that man sleeps. Like, what, he has got to be on some type of lorazepam or something, because there's no way that he could sleep right now. That is a lot. And E.G. and Carol's talk about taking his butt back to court for saying her name again. Like, for smearing her again. Like, wow. Everybody, if Donald Trump has ever done y'all wrong, here's your chance. Go on and sue him. Why not? Go get yours, because he's in a whole heck of a lot of trouble. August is coming. Fonnie is coming as well. So there's definitely going to be another indictment. Oh my God. There's like 2 or 3 on the horizon. This is like, he wanted to go down in history as some type of ex-president, and he sure is going to go down in history for sure. But anyway, I don't have anything else to talk about. Artie, I am sorry that you came late, but that is cool. I will be here next Thursday, and no worries. On June 17th, it's a Saturday. I know you guys probably won't be around, but I have a special guest that I will be interviewing, so I am excited about that. Already catch the show on Rewind, or whatever you call it. Yeah, just catch the show. You can watch it anytime. Thank you guys for coming out. I am going to work out. I will talk to you guys later. Thank you, Artie. Thank you, Michelle, for showing up. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.